Commander, the sensors are screaming again. Same frequency, same pulse. Mira Dax's voice trembled through the comms as the ocean swallowed their light. Captain Orion Vale glanced at his wrist monitor. Oxygen steady, pressure at red. The metal hull of the Eclipser groaned, a sound like bones under strain. Then we're close, he said, his tone calm and unshakable. Keep your head, Mira, the ocean eats panic first. A cold shiver ran down her spine. It's singing again. Not singing, Orion muttered, adjusting the thrusters. Calling. Outside, the abyss stirred. The darkness wasn't empty, it moved. Faint, luminescent threads spiraled in the distance like the veins of some sleeping god. The two divers were 8 miles beneath the Pacific, deeper than any human had gone before. No light, no sound but the rhythmic hum of machinery, and that pulse. A deep vibration that rippled through water and bone alike. Captain, readings are off the charts. We're beyond all known limits, Mira said, tapping the console. Even the pressure stabilizers are confused. Orion's eyes narrowed. Good. That means we're in new territory. She stared through the viewport into the endless dark. You really think something's alive down here? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Everyone on Earth had seen the signal. A rhythmic burst of sound recorded from the Mariana Rift 3 months ago. Not random. Not geological. It had structure, like coded music. NASA called it the Deep Hymn. And when their AI systems tried to interpret it, it returned one word across every translation model. Arrive. Governments panicked. Scientists obsessed. Then humanity sent its best. Orion Vale, the man who dove into volcanoes, crossed sub-zero trenches, and laughed at every boundary nature set. The only human alive who'd looked the abyss in the eye and smiled. Depth? He asked. 35,000 feet and counting, Mira replied. Visibility low. No bottom detected. Then it's hiding something big, he said, smirking. And humans don't do well with secrets. The water outside pulsed again. This time the sub shook violently. Monitors glitched, static and strange glyphs flickering across screens. Captain, what's happening? Mira gasped. Orion leaned forward, eyes fixed on the glowing sonar. The pulse wasn't random anymore. It was shaping itself into a spiral, drawing them downward. It's mapping us, he said quietly. The words hung heavy. A sudden flash. Blinding blue light tore through the black water. The hull screamed. They both shielded their eyes as the pulse became deafening. Through the chaos, Orion felt something. Not fear, but recognition. He'd heard this before. Not in sound, but in dreams. That same rhythm. That same pull, then silence. Total, suffocating silence. Lights flickered back to life. The water outside shimmered faintly. And for the first time, they saw it. Beneath them, buried in sediment and shadow, was a colossal structure. Its surface glowed with living light, rings of gold, blue, and violet spiraling around a single dark core. It pulsed once more, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat. Mira's voice was barely a whisper. That's no volcano, no wreck. It's built. Orion grinned, that dangerous spark of human defiance in his eyes. Then it's time to meet the neighbors. Before she could protest, he flipped the thrusters and began the descent. Every warning light turned red. The hull groaned louder. The abyss pressed harder, as if the ocean itself was trying to crush them before they reached it. Captain, Mira shouted. If we go any deeper, we won't come back up. He didn't flinch. If we don't go deeper, we'll never know what's waiting. They plunged through a shimmering field of energy. The water around them shimmered. Shapes flickered in and out like ghosts of other worlds. The hum turned melodic again, ancient and mournful. Then, for the first time, the sound formed words. Not in English, not in any known tongue, yet both of them understood it. The surface has forgotten. Mira froze. Did you hear that? Orion's voice dropped to a whisper. Yeah, and then one last pulse. The sonar screen went dark, replaced by a single glowing symbol. An eye carved in blue light staring straight back at them. The Eclipser shook violently as a gravitational wave hit. Systems crashed. Alarms screamed. The lights died, and as the darkness closed in, Mira's trembling voice cracked through the static. Captain, something's moving down there. Orion's hand tightened on the controls. His eyes blazed with the thrill of discovery. Good, he said. Let it come. The abyss answered with a low, resonant roar. Ancient, intelligent, alive, and humanity had just been noticed. "Captain, the sub's reading a gravitational surge." "It's dragging us in." Mira's voice trembled through the comms, rising above the wail of alarms. The Eclipser spun as unseen currents twisted around it, pulling them toward the glowing structure that pulsed beneath the ocean floor like a living heart. "Let it," Orion Vale said, his tone steady, almost amused. "We didn't come 8 miles down to turn back." The submersible rattled violently. Pressure alarms screamed red. Mira's hands flew over the controls, trying to stabilize their descent. "This isn't a current. It's focused. It's pulling only us." Orion adjusted his harness, eyes locked on the window. Then it knows exactly what it wants. The abyss opened before them, and from the shadows emerged a colossal structure half buried in darkness. It wasn't coral. It wasn't stone. It was architecture, sharp angles, flowing curves, glowing veins of light that pulsed in time with the alien signal. The closer they came, the clearer the pattern became. Rings within rings, moving in sync, like the entire construct was breathing. Mira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Captain, what if it's not calling us? What if it's warning us?" Orion smiled faintly, the reflection of blue light dancing across his scarred face. "Warnings are for people who hesitate, and humans don't hesitate." The Eclipser's spotlights flickered as the sub crossed a shimmering field of energy. Instruments went dead for a heartbeat. Then slowly power returned, and the view outside changed. Where there had been darkness, now there was light. A corridor of glowing water stretching into infinity. The alien structure had opened like an eye, forming a tunnel of golden light through the abyss. Mira's breath caught. "It's inviting us in. Then let's not keep it waiting. You're insane." He glanced at her, smirk tugging at his lips. "I'm human." She hesitated, then guided the sub forward deeper into the tunnel. The deeper they went, the quieter the ocean became. Sound faded. Even the hum of the engines seemed swallowed by silence. Then came the voice. Not through the comms, not through air, but through their minds. A resonance that hummed through their bones. "Return." Mira clutched her headset. "Did you hear?" "Yes," Orion replied softly. "And it doesn't sound like a threat." Ahead, the tunnel widened into a massive dome, a hollow space filled with glowing symbols floating in water like constellations. At its center hovered a sphere of liquid light, spinning slowly, emitting soft harmonic tones that vibrated through the hull. Orion's voice was almost reverent. "That's the source. They stopped the sub 10 meters from it." The sphere pulsed once, and every system in the Eclipser went dead. Lights, oxygen readouts, propulsion, all silenced. Mira's breath quickened. "Captain, we've lost everything." Orion unlatched his harness. "Then we go in." "Go in where?" "We can't." He grabbed his helmet. "Manual lock. Open the hatch." "Orion, the pressure will—" "Trust me," he said simply. Something in his voice silenced her. Against every instinct, she initiated the lock sequence. The sub's airlock hissed open. Water rushed in, but instead of crushing them, it shimmered. Thick, heavy, but breathable like dense air. They floated inside the dome, weightless. The sphere of light brightened, rotating faster as they approached. "Captain," Mira whispered, her voice breaking. "It's beautiful." "Don't trust beauty down here," he said, eyes never leaving the sphere. It's usually camouflage, but even he couldn't hide his awe. The closer they got, the more the surface of the sphere rippled, like liquid glass reflecting stars. Shapes formed within, cities beneath waves, creatures of light, towering beings with eyes like galaxies. Then, for a moment, the surface froze. A reflection appeared. Mira gasped. "It's you." Orion stared at his own face inside the sphere. Identical, yet older, wiser. And when it spoke, its voice filled the dome like a chorus of oceans. "Welcome home, Captain Vale." Mira's knees buckled. What does that mean?" The reflection, or whatever it was, smiled faintly. "Your kind was born here. Before memory, before land." The dome darkened. The sphere pulsed faster. Around them, the alien glyphs shifted, forming spirals that reached upward, like a countdown. Mira's heart pounded. "What's happening?" Orion's voice was calm, though his eyes blazed with something fierce and curious. "It's showing us something." The reflection spoke again, softer, sadder. The surface forgot. But the ocean remembers. Suddenly the sphere emitted a deep tone. The dome walls flashed with light, and the holographic timer appeared, glowing above them. 72 Mao. Mira stared in horror. 72 hours for what? The reflection's expression turned grave. For the ocean to take back what belongs to it. A tremor rippled through the dome, shaking the structure violently. The currents outside roared. Mira's voice cracked. Captain, we need to leave. But Orion stood unmoving, gaze fixed on the reflection that looked like him. Not yet, he said quietly. It's not done talking. And as the lights dimmed and the world trembled around them, humanity's greatest diver realized he'd uncovered not a message, but a reckoning. The trembling subsided, leaving an eerie stillness. Only the glow of the sphere pulsed through the dome, painting rippling light across Orion's face. Mira floated beside him, her eyes wide with disbelief. What do you mean? She whispered. We were born here? The reflection within the sphere, Orion's mirror image, ageless and composed, regarded them both. Its voice echoed like layered currents, calm yet commanding. Your species began beneath these waters. The surface world was never your cradle. You are our legacy. Mira shook her head, anger cutting through her fear. That's impossible. Humanity evolved. On land. The reflection finished, its tone neither mocking nor surprised. That is what you were meant to believe. Orion's jaw tightened. Why tell us this now? The sphere's light dimmed to a deep, oceanic blue. Because time is running out. Above them, the alien glyphs reformed, no longer patterns but images. They told a story, a vast ocean world, glowing cities beneath waves, beings of light walking side by side with smaller, human-shaped figures. Then, cataclysm. Currents raged, volcanoes erupted undersea, and the great beings vanished into the deep. The smaller ones, humanity's ancestors, rose to the surface. We created you, the reflection said, to remember us, to carry our spark when the seas fell silent. But you forgot. You turned your backs on the ocean, your origin, your mother. And now the balance breaks. Mira floated forward, trembling. If this is true, why send the signal? Why not reveal yourselves before we destroyed so much of the planet? The reflection's gaze softened. We did, many times. You called them myths, floods, gods, leviathans. You turned memory into story, and story into superstition. Orion's heart pounded as he watched the images flicker, towering shapes rising from oceans in the ancient world, teaching, guiding. And then being hunted, feared, forgotten. He clenched his fists. You're saying we forgot because you let us. You wanted us to forget. Silence. Then the reflection spoke with quiet gravity. Yes, because memory without wisdom destroys. Humanity was not ready to know its makers. Mira turned to Orion, desperate. Captain, please, we have to get out of here. Whatever this thing is, it's rewriting history, Orion interrupted, and maybe the future too. The reflection raised a hand, palm glowing. Your world will soon face the tide. The ocean will reclaim what it gave. In 72 hours, the cycle resets. What cycle? Orion demanded. The reclamation. The surface must drown, so the deep can live again. A low hum filled the chamber. The glyphs spun faster, forming new symbols. Data streams, coordinates, energy patterns far beyond human understanding. Mira's voice trembled. You're going to flood the world? The reflection regarded her. We are not your enemy. The ocean is life itself. It cannot be contained forever. You have burned the air, poisoned the water, shattered the rhythm. Now the ocean will restore balance. No. Orion's voice was a growl now. You can't just erase us. We built cities, ships, dreams. You built them on bones, it replied. You built them on what you forgot. Lightning-like veins of light surged through the dome, casting harsh shadows across their faces. Mira reached out, grabbing Orion's arm. Captain, we have to go. Now! But Orion's gaze locked with the reflections, and something passed between them. Recognition. Connection. You said we were your legacy, Orion said slowly. Then you made us to survive. That means you gave us choice. That means you made us stubborn. The reflection tilted its head, almost curious. Choice. Yes. The most dangerous gift we ever gave. The dome shuddered again, a quake rolling through the structure. Cracks of light appeared along the walls like lightning frozen in glass. The ocean rises, the reflection said. And there will be no stopping it. Orion stepped closer to the sphere, defiant. Then we'll adapt, that's what we do. You gave us that too. The reflection stared for a long moment, and then, impossibly, smiled. You sound like the first one. The first what? The first architect. Before he could ask, the sphere's light flared, enveloping him. For a moment, Orion saw flashes, faces of people long dead, oceans of crystal, machines shaped like whales, and a figure who looked exactly like him, standing at the center of it all, holding a sphere of light identical to this one. Then eyed darkness. Mira's scream echoed through the chamber. Orion! She spun, searching, but he was gone. Only the sphere remained, dimming to a soft, heartbeat rhythm. A single line of alien script glowed faintly in front of her, slowly translating across her helmet display. He has remembered, and somewhere in the black water beyond the dome, something vast began to stir. Orion! Mira's voice cracked through the static as she spun in the weightless chamber. The sphere's glow dimmed to a soft pulse, and the symbols around the walls faded into shadow. Orion, answer me, where are you? Silence. Only the deep hum of the alien structure remained. Slow, deliberate, like the pulse of something ancient waking from sleep. Then faintly, she heard it. Mira. His voice. Distant. Warped. Coming not from the comms, but from everywhere. Her breath hitched. Captain? Captain, can you hear me? The sphere flickered. For an instant, Orion's image shimmered within, his body floating inside the light, eyes closed, calm, as if dreaming. No, she whispered, pressing a hand against the sphere. No, 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 you're not taking him. The surface rippled beneath her touch, warm and alive. For a moment, it responded, waves of light rippling outward from her fingers, like it felt her grief. Mira. His voice again, clearer this time, coming from inside her helmet. Don't fight it, I'm seeing everything, she gasped. Where are you? Inside it, Orion said slowly. It's showing me what came before. And then through the sphere she saw what he saw. The vision unfolded like a memory shared across time. Towering underwater cities built of living coral and metal, pulsing with light. Beings of water and energy moving with grace. The first architects. In their midst, smaller figures, human-shaped, fragile yet curious. Their children. They made us, Orion's voice murmured. They gave us a spark and a hunger. They called it the breath of depths, a will that would never stop seeking. Mira's throat tightened. Then why leave us behind? Because we changed, Orion said. We learned too fast. They feared what we'd become. The vision shifted. The great cities collapsing, oceans raging, storms consuming everything. The architects vanished beneath the abyss, sealing their legacy. The human prototypes, survivors, drifted upward, toward the surface, and the voice of the reflection whispered through the current. The surface was never exile. It was a test. Suddenly, the sphere's light flared. Mira staggered backward as the chamber shook violently. The reflection, the twin, appeared again, its tone urgent. He carries the seed. He remembers. The choice must be made. What choice? Mira demanded. The same one he made once before, to rise or to return. Bring him back, she shouted. You can't just... Only he can decide. The glow intensified until she had to shield her eyes. When it faded, Orion stood before her, dripping with light, trembling but alive. His eyes glowed faintly with the same bioluminescent hue as the alien walls. "Captain," she gasped, rushing to him. "I thought—" He caught her arm gently. "It's okay." His voice was low, calm, but something inside it had changed, deeper, almost harmonic. "I saw it all, Mira. What they were. What we were meant to be." "Then tell me," she said, almost pleading. "Tell me what's happening." He looked around the chamber, eyes unfocused, as if seeing more than she could. "The architects aren't gods. They're custodians. They kept the ocean alive. When they disappeared, the balance broke. Now the world's running out of time. 72 hours before the ocean resets itself." "Resets? The oceans will rise. Flood the continents. Wipe the slate clean." Mira's stomach turned cold. "Billions will die." He met her gaze. "Unless I stop it." "What do you mean, you?" "The architects left a failsafe," he said, glancing at the glowing veins running through the dome. "A command key. It's locked to their genetic signature, and now I have it." Her voice trembled. "You mean they made you one of them?" He smiled faintly, but there was no joy in it. "They made me both." The dome rumbled again, more violently this time. Cracks of blue light tore across the walls. Through the viewport above, the water churned like a storm. "The ocean's waking," he said softly. "We need to reach the core chamber. It's the only place I can use the key." "Then we move," Mira said, her fear replaced by determination. "Lead the way." They pushed off into the glowing corridor, the sub behind them dark and powerless. As they swam through the alien architecture, the current itself seemed to move aside for Orion, responding to his presence. Mira watched him, realizing she was following a man who was no longer entirely human. The thought chilled her. "Captain," she said quietly, "you said this happened before. What did they mean?" He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant. "Because I was the first architect. Before humanity was ever born." Her heart stopped. "That's impossible." "Maybe," he said, "but the ocean doesn't care about what's possible." Behind them, the dome collapsed. A surge of brilliant light rushed outward, a shockwave that roared through the trench and upward into the world above. On the surface, far away, ocean buoys began to flash red. The tides were shifting, and in the deep Orion Vale, human or something beyond, swam toward destiny as the first whispers of the apocalypse stirred the sea. The tunnel twisted downward like a throat of light. Orion and Mira moved through it in silence, weightless, their flashlights dim against the glow pulsing from the living walls. The current around them hummed softly, like a heartbeat following Orion's steps. "How much farther?" Mira asked, her voice a whisper swallowed by the vastness around them. Orion's eyes flickered with faint light. "Close. I can feel it." "Feel it?" He touched the wall as they passed. It rippled beneath his palm like warm breath. "It's alive. It recognizes me." Mira swallowed hard. "I liked it better when the ocean didn't recognize anybody." They emerged into a chamber so vast it made her gasp. A cathedral beneath the world. Columns of living coral spiraled toward an unseen ceiling. In the center stood a structure shaped like an inverted pyramid, suspended in mid-water, glowing with veins of light that pulsed in time with the alien signal. The core. The hum vibrated in their bones now, growing louder, deeper. Mira steadied herself, scanning their surroundings. "You said this thing's a failsafe, so how do you stop it?" Orion swam forward slowly, his expression solemn. "The architects designed the ocean to obey one command: restore balance. The core carries that directive. If I can reach it, I might be able to override it, change the meaning of balance." She frowned. "And if you fail?" He met her eyes. "Then the ocean swallows everything." For a long moment they floated in the eerie silence. Mira's heart pounded. Why you, Orion? Why make you the one who decides the fate of the world? He hesitated, then said softly, Because I already did once. Mira blinked. What? He turned to her, and for the first time she saw sorrow in his eyes. I was part of them. A hybrid prototype. The first human mind bonded with the ocean's will. When the architects saw what I was becoming, they sealed me away and fragmented my memory, scattered my DNA through the generations. That's how humanity began. Mira's voice dropped to a whisper. So the entire human race was built from my failure, Orion finished. And now it's my responsibility to fix it. Before she could respond, the chamber shook violently. A column of light burst from the core, filling the water with blinding brilliance. Within it, massive silhouettes stirred, serpentine, graceful, ancient. The architect's guardians. Contact, Mira shouted. They're moving. Orion raised a hand. No weapons. They're not attacking. But one of the creatures, a massive leviathan of translucent skin and eyes like suns, turned its head toward them. The water trembled with its voice. Return fragment. Mira's breath caught. It's talking to you. Orion nodded grimly. They don't want me to interfere. The leviathan's voice rolled through the chamber like thunder. You carry the flaw. You remember defiance. Defiance built your legacy. Orion shot back, his tone sharp, commanding. Without it, there's no evolution, no progress. Defiance broke the ocean. Then let me fix it, he said. The leviathan paused. Then its golden eyes dimmed. You cannot. The cycle has begun. The core erupted, sending streams of light through the water. The countdown flashed in Mira's visor, 47 to 1309. She turned to Orion. It's accelerating. He clenched his fists. Then we don't have time. He swam toward the core, but the leviathan moved to block his path. Its body filled the chamber, blotting out the light. The water quaked with its presence. Orion, Mira shouted. He looked back, eyes glowing brighter than before. Stay behind me. The leviathan lunged, not to kill, but to stop him. The current hit like a tidal wave, slamming them both against the wall. Mira struggled to hold her ground as Orion pushed forward, cutting through the storm. Every pulse of the core seemed to pull at him, tugging at his blood, his mind. Voices whispered through the current. Thousands, millions, all calling the same word, return. He roared back, his voice echoing through the water. No, humanity moves forward, not back. The sphere embedded in his chest, a mark left by the architects, ignited with pure light. The leviathan froze. The chamber fell silent. Mira watched in awe as the ancient being bowed its head and drifted aside. What did you do? She whispered. I reminded it who built the ocean in the first place, he said softly. We did. Orion pressed his hand against the core's glowing surface. The moment he touched it, the chamber exploded with light. Waves of energy rippled outward, showing images of the surface world above. Cities trembling as the tides rose, satellites falling, storms swallowing coasts. Mira's voice broke. Orion, it's already happening. I know. He closed his eyes, focusing. Streams of light flowed from the core into him, merging with his body. His mind filled with the voice of the ocean itself, endless, vast, alive. Command? It asked. Orion's breath shuddered. He could feel the weight of every life above, every drop of water around him. Humanity's noise. The ocean's silence. Stop the flood, he whispered. But spare nothing unworthy. The core hesitated, then pulsed once. Hard, Mira's visor went black. Her lungs seized. For a heartbeat, she felt nothing. No sound, no gravity, no light. Then, stillness. The chamber dimmed. Orion stood before the core, breathing hard, light fading from his eyes. Captain, Mira said, her voice trembling. What did you do? He turned to her, expression unreadable. I changed the meaning of balance, and far above them the tides began to obey. The ocean stopped rising. But something else, unseen, began to awaken in its depths. For a moment, the ocean was silent. Not peaceful. Waiting. The kind of silence that holds its breath before a storm decides which way to break. Mira blinked against the fading light, her heartbeat hammering in her ears. "Captain," it stopped. "The pressure, the countdown, it's all gone." Orion Vale stood at the center of the core chamber, haloed in pale blue glow. The light that had burned in his eyes had dimmed, leaving behind something colder. He turned slowly toward her, and for the first time since they'd descended, Mira couldn't read his face. "It's not over," he said quietly. "What do you mean? You stopped the flood. You won." "No," Orion murmured, glancing at the glowing veins across the chamber walls. They pulsed slower now, heavy and deliberate, like a heart struggling to restart. "I redirected it." Mira frowned, gripping her chest harness to steady herself. "Redirected it where?" He didn't answer. Not immediately. He walked to the edge of the chamber, where the walls of light turned transparent, revealing the abyss beyond. The alien architecture stretched for miles, spires of crystal rising from the trench glowing softly in the dark. Above, faint streaks of sunlight tried to reach down, distorted by the miles of crushing sea. "Do you know what the ocean remembers, Mira?" he asked suddenly. She shook her head, cautious. "What?" "Everything." He looked over his shoulder, eyes glimmering faintly again. Every death, every storm, every secret dropped to its floor. The architects didn't make a sea, they made a memory. And I just gave it back to itself. Her throat went dry. "You're saying you woke it up?" "Yes." The core pulsed again, and the entire chamber trembled. Waves of energy rippled through the alien metal, spiraling upward through the trench. Mira could feel it, like something enormous had turned its gaze toward them from the deep. "You said you changed the meaning of balance," she said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "What does that mean?" Orion looked out into the dark, his expression almost mournful. The architects believed balance meant control, that every rise must have a fall, every creation its destruction. But humans, we don't follow symmetry. We break patterns, we adapt. I told the ocean to evolve, not to erase. Mira stared. "Evolve how?" A faint smile touched his lips. "That's what it's deciding now." Suddenly, a tremor shook the chamber so violently that cracks of pure light burst across the walls. Water currents spiraled around them, wild and electric. Mira barely managed to grab a support beam. "What's happening?" she shouted. Orion's gaze sharpened. "It's rewriting itself." Across the chamber, the Leviathan, the massive guardian from before, rose again, its golden eyes brighter than suns. But this time its voice carried awe instead of warning. Fragment restored the flow, but consequence must follow. "Consequence?" Mira gasped. The sea no longer knows its boundary. The line between water and life fades. The creature turned its vast head toward Orion. "You have bound yourself to the ocean's pulse. You are its mind now." Mira's stomach dropped. "What did it say?" Orion exhaled slowly. "It means the ocean needs a voice, a consciousness to guide its change." "No," she whispered. "You can't mean—" He nodded once. "It's choosing me." "Orion, that's suicide," she cried, swimming toward him. "You'll dissolve, merge, whatever this thing is. It'll kill you." He smiled faintly. "You sound like me before I stopped fearing the dark." "Don't you dare!" He caught her wrist. His grip was warm, steady. "You said once that humans don't belong down here. You were wrong. We always did. This is where we began, Mira. Maybe it's where I end." Her eyes filled with tears. "You can't leave me here." "I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving something better." Before she could protest, the core brightened again, blindingly. Orion turned toward it, spreading his arms. The water vibrated, not violently, but harmoniously, like an entire world exhaling after centuries of silence. The Leviathan's voice rolled through the chamber, balance restored through sacrifice. "Orion!" she screamed. He looked back one last time, and for a fleeting moment, his old grin returned, that human, reckless defiance that had carried them this far. "Tell them," he said softly, "we remembered." Then he stepped into the core. Light consumed him. The chamber shuddered. The glow spread outward, threads of light racing through every tunnel, every ridge, every trench. The entire ocean blazed for one impossible second, as if the planet itself had opened its eyes. And then, stillness. Mira floated alone in the fading light, her breath coming in short gasps. The Leviathan bowed its massive head and drifted upward into the darkness, its final words echoing through her mind. The ocean has a new name. Silence returned. The core dimmed to a soft, steady glow like a heartbeat. Mira pressed her palm against it, whispering through her tears, "Goodbye, Captain." And though no voice answered, the water around her pulsed once, gentle, familiar, as if the ocean itself had whispered back, "Goodbye, Mira." Far above, the world changed. The rising floods stilled. Storms dissolved into quiet rain. In the silence after catastrophe, every ocean on Earth began to glow faintly, breathing as if alive. And in the deep, Orion Vale was no more. But the ocean remembered him, and it was listening. 3 days later, the sea was calm. Too calm. From the deck of the rescue ship Solara, Mira Dax stood staring into the endless blue. The ocean stretched like glass, silent, reflective, alive in a way she'd never seen before. The water shimmered faintly beneath the sunlight as though something beneath it was breathing, and she could feel it watching her. The mission log said, "The Eclipser was gone." The coordinates where Orion had entered the core now read nothing but static. Every sonar, every satellite, every deep-sea probe went blind when aimed toward the trench. Yet the ocean was calm. And humanity was still alive, Lieutenant Dax, a voice called. She turned. Dr. Elias Noor, the ship's oceanographer, stood beside her, clutching a data pad. His brow was furrowed, eyes wide with confusion and awe. "Mira, you need to see this." He turned the screen toward her. It displayed satellite footage of every major ocean on Earth, Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, all glowing with the same faint blue pulse. "Perfectly synchronized, what is it?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "That's the thing. It's not a reflection. It's energy. Rhythmic, structured. Every 5 seconds it pulses like a heartbeat." Mira's throat tightened. Like him, Elias blinked. "Who?" She didn't answer. Her gaze drifted to the horizon where the sunlight met the trembling water. Down there in the deep silence she could still hear it, faint but unmistakable. The same hum, the same song that had once drawn them into the abyss. Only now it wasn't haunting, it was alive, peaceful. "I think he's still down there," she said softly. Elias frowned.
"Captain Vale?"
"That's impossible. Pressure that deep. You didn't know him," she interrupted gently. Impossible was his playground. A soft chime broke through the air. The ship's radio, dead since the mission ended, flickered to life. Static crackled, followed by a voice faint and distorted by water. Mira froze. The voice was calm, deep, unmistakable. "Surface command. This is the ocean." Elias's eyes went wide. "That can't be." The message continued, faint but clear. Balance restored. "Evolution begins. Remember the depths." The transmission ended. The ship fell silent again, save for the waves tapping gently against the hull. Mira pressed her hand to her chest, her heart pounding. "He did it," she whispered. Elias stammered. "You mean he's part of it now?" She nodded slowly. "He's guiding it. He is it." For a long moment they stood there, listening to the hush of the ocean. Then the water near the ship rippled. A small glowing sphere rose from the depths, hovering at the surface. Mira knelt, staring. The sphere shimmered with faint patterns, the same alien glyphs they had seen in the chamber. But now one word pulsed brighter than the rest. "Home." She reached out and touched it. The sphere dissolved into light that wrapped around her hand, warm and gentle before sinking back into the sea. Elias exhaled shakily. "What did it just do?" Mira smiled faintly. "Said hello." He stared at her. "You think it's friendly?" She turned to face the horizon. "No, it's human." As the day faded into twilight, the glowing pulse of the ocean brightened. Every wave, every tide, every ripple connected in perfect harmony. Fish began to shimmer with bioluminescence. Coral reefs bloomed where there had been death. Rivers cleared. The planet itself seemed to sigh in relief. But beneath that peace something new stirred. Not destruction, but awakening. A world reshaping itself around a shared consciousness. At night, as stars mirrored themselves across the calm water, Mira stood alone at the railing, her reflection trembling in the light. The voice came again, not from any speaker, but from the water itself. "You taught me defiance, Mira, you taught me choice. Now we begin again," her breath caught. "Orion?" "Not Orion," the voice said gently. "Just the ocean remembering what it loved about humanity." The wind shifted. The waves whispered against the ship, soft and rhythmic, almost like laughter carried through the deep. Mira closed her eyes, tears blurring the horizon. "Then remember this," she whispered. "We'll never stop reaching back." The glow beneath the ship flared once, a brilliant pulse that raced outward across the world, lighting every sea, every shore, every drop. And for the first time in history, the ocean sang back. Its song was vast, endless, and profoundly human, a promise carried through the tides we remember. We rise, we endure, as dawn broke. The seas shimmered with light, not alien, not divine, but unmistakably Earth's own heartbeat. And somewhere in the deep, the ocean smiled, because humanity had finally come home.